came out to support me because I know a lot of you, some of you don't go to church and some of you, don't have a relationship with God, but you came to support me, and that means a lot to me. I want to let you guys know that. So now the story that I'm about to share with you it's a very personal story for me. It's very, very hard for me to share because it's that deep. And I feel that I've come to a point in my life that if my story can help someone else, then it's all the worth it to share. So without further ado, I'll just dive right into my story. So I'll give you the background first now, and this might sound like the story will go on forever, but I'll blow through this part quick. My mom and my dad were high school sweethearts, right? So they met. My dad went to Tulsa, my mom went to Jackson. They were high school sweethearts. They finished high school. They got married, and 26 years old, they had their first kid. It was me. Now, after a year, found out my mom cheated on my dad, and there was another kid on the way. So, my mom and my dad got a divorce, and I've always grown up in that split parenthood type of lifestyle. Now, my sister was born when I was a year and a half old. Her name's Lexi, to this guy, and then after about 2 years, my mom cut this guy off and went to the next guy and got married to this guy, and at this point I was like, 5 years old, and this guy's name was Justin, and he wasn't the nicest guy. He was a very abusive guy, and no one really wants to see their mom get hit or beat, or see yourself get hit or beat, but that's the kind of type of person he was. He was the type of person that got out the belt and he would smack you with it. He was the type of person that would drink and assault you that type of way. So my mom ended up having a kid with this guy. She was married to him. And this kid came when I was 8 years old. Her name's Bella. That was my second little sister. After that, my mom got divorced with this guy. So this is kind of a repetitive thing throughout my life. My mom went through guys like, it was ridiculous. It goes on. It gets better. So she goes to the next guy. His name was Bill. He's a police officer. I really, really liked Bill. He had 2 kids, and I connected with them really well. My mom got married to Bill and had a kid with him, and this little boy, his name's Liam. At this point, I was like 12 years old, and I loved Liam because he was my first brother. The first guy that I had I could play baseball with, because growing up I'd always played baseball. That's what I was good at. I went and I practiced 3 days a week for 2 hours. That's what I did. I played baseball. That was my dream. So I was like, I could teach this little kid to play baseball. So I had that relationship with him. Come 2 years later, my mom gets a divorce with this dude. So that's been through 4 guys through my life. So it was smooth sailing there for a little while, and it was just me, my mom, and my 3 siblings. And it was my freshman year of high school at Lake. I'm a snowboarder, so I love snowboarding, and we had this thing called Ski Club. And we went every Thursday up to Boston and Brandywine, if you know what that is. And this one Thursday, I had just gotten done snowboarding. It was actually January 17th, 2 years ago, so like a couple days ago, 2 years ago. And my mom had come pick me up like she always had, and I was getting ready to go home with her, and I opened up the passenger door, and there's this guy sitting here, and I'm thinking in my head, again? Really? Again. There's another guy sitting here. Obviously I didn't say that, but that was going through my head. So I shook this guy's hand, met him, said, "Hey, my name's KT. Oh, hey, my name's Kate. Nice to meet you. How long are you gonna last?" So I met this guy. Seemed like a decent guy, and I went home, and my mom picked me up at 9 o'clock. Went home, and I come to realize, where's this dude's car at? This dude ain't got a car, and so I come to realize, I'm going to bed, and this guy still hasn't left yet. So I asked my mom, what's happening? He's like, "Oh, this guy's living with us now." I was like, "What? You're kidding me?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's living with us now." And I was like, "Okay." So I met this dude 2 hours ago, and he's already living with us. That was a new one for me. So I kind of had some red flags, because you don't really just, show someone your kids 2 hours ago and then move them into your house. So I'd done research, and, my mom's ex-husband, the cop guy, had figured out that this guy had actually spent the past 17 years in prison for an armed robbery. So, that instantly shot off red flags in my head, because I'm a very protective older brother over my younger siblings. So I figured, oh great, now I'm gonna have to step in, and I'm gonna have to, be that person to protect my family in case anything ever happened. So I went to my mom and I talked to her about this, and she's like, yeah, I know. And I was like, so how long have you been talking to this guy for? 3 years? It's like, really? 3 years and you never told me about him? No. It's not your business, it's adult business. So, that's kind of the relationship me and my mom always had growing up. It was adult business, and I had no right to know. So I decided to take things in my own hands, and I went to my grandparents' house. So this guy had been living with us for 2 weeks. I went to my grandparents' house to tell them that this guy had been living with us, because I'm really close to my grandparents, and my mom, that's my mom's mom and dad, and she's close with them too. And I went over there and I talked to them and like, hey, this guy's living with us for the past 2 weeks? And they're like, no, didn't know that. It's like, really? So, I instantly knew something was wrong. So I told them, and I figured, my mom's not going to want me to have told them that. So I was like, don't go over there, and, because she'll know that I told you that. And they're like, okay, we won't go over there. And, they went over there that night. And I went to bed, and I get a call at 11 o'clock that night from my grandpa, my papa. And he said, hey, Kade. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, we went over there. I was like, really? You went over there? And he's like, yeah, we went over there. I was like, why? He's like, we just felt like we had to. I was like, okay, what happened? She kicked us out. What? Yeah, she threatened to call the police on us if we didn't leave. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, she felt threatened by our presence, so she made us leave. I was like, oh, great. So I knew my mom was upset with me, and the next day I had to go over there. So I was preparing for the next day, and I was preparing for the worst. I was preparing for anything bad that could happen. Like, I mean, 15-year-old Kade was thinking he might have died the next day. I mean, as extreme as that sounds, like I thought I might have died the next day. And so I went through my school day, and I was sitting there in 7th period study hall in Miss Tipple's class. Some of you may know her from Lake. And it was 1:41, and they come over the announcements and say, Kade Finnefrock, come down to the office. And I was like, oh, great, I know what this is. So I walked down to the office, and there my mom is. And she's standing there, and she walks out with these transfer forms to, so that I can, leave Lake. And she's like, hey, you want to stay at Lake? You want to go to Tuslaw? It's like, obviously I want to stay at Lake. This is what I've grown up with. This is what I've always known. This is my life. This is Lake. And she's like, okay. So she hops in the car, and I go to open the passenger door, and she's like, nope, sit in the back seat. It's like, okay, whatever. So I knew she was upset at me. So I closed the door, sit in the back seat, and it's about a 7-minute ride home, and we went home, and not a word was said on the drive home, but I know, when you get that feeling that, something's wrong, something's about to happen, I absolutely had that feeling. I knew something bad was going to happen. So I went home, and my mom walks through the door, and I follow her, and she turns around, she's like, Kade, take your jacket off. It's like, okay. Took my jacket off, and she checks my pockets. I was like, Mom, why'd you check my pockets? She's like, I don't trust you. I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And then she continued to pat my person down and check my pockets on my person. I don't know, some of you may know me really well, some of you may not. I am not the type of person that would carry a weapon on me, or let alone assault my mother with that weapon. Honestly, who would? I get there are some people that would, but, that's not me. So I was kind of bewildered by that, and she had just did this to me, and she goes and she sits me down, and she starts crying. And, I hate to see my mom cry, but she started crying. I was like, Mom, why are you crying? I don't trust you anymore. I was like, why? She's like, you're the most racist, bigoted person I've ever met. And I was like, really? And this came out of nowhere. I didn't think, my mom would ever be saying these words to me. And so she continued to insult me, and, me and my mom have argued before, so I wasn't really, estranged to that. I was accustomed to, her calling me these names and saying stuff to me. So it was just a normal argument with her, and then she ends the conversation with 2 statements that changed my life forever. She looked at me and said, she's like, Kade, you're not the son I once had. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you're not my son anymore. So, obviously I started crying there. I felt like she just shot me in the heart. And she followed up with 3 more shots and said, Kade, I'm never going to let you see your siblings again. And, for the same reason that I'd gotten this mess in the first place, to protect my siblings, is the same reason that I'm getting taken away from them. My mom is just, my mom didn't has not died from a disease or from a car crash or anything like that. My mom straight up chose to leave my life and say that I don't want to be a part of your life anymore. And that was hard for me because I was always a mama's boy growing up. And so I was crying, and I ran out the door and called my dad, and I ran down the street, and he picked me up. And I never turned back. I never held my head down. I mean, obviously I thought about it because, just lost 4 people in your life that you love. Obviously you got to think about it. So I continued my year out at Lake, and my dad came up to me and he's like, son, it's like $2,600 for you to continue going at Lake for tuition, and it's a 30-minute drive. And I was like, so we're not going to be able to make it anymore? He's like, no. So I started crying because I just lost, my mom, my siblings, and now the school that I'd grown up around, all my friends and all the people that, I had loved growing up. All my teammates, all my bandmates, whatever. And my dad's like, you're going to Tuslaw. So I was crying. I was like, I don't want to go to Tuslaw, Like, what the heck's Tuslaw? And he's like, yeah, you're going to Tuslaw. I was like, okay. So we started going to church, and it was coming up on the new year, and youth was coming up. I didn't really know what youth was, but Abby Miller sure did, and she came up to me every single Sunday and was like, Kade, you should come to youth. I don't want to go to youth, Abby. Next Sunday, Kade, you should come to youth. Yeah, youth's not for me. Next Sunday, Kade, you should come to youth. And then it got to the point where I just ignored her. But then it came closer to the time of when youth actually started, and she's like, Kade, I want you to come to youth. And I was like, whatever, I'll try it out. So I was like, Dad, I'm going to youth. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm going to youth. So he drove me out here on Wednesday, and I liked it. I had a great experience. I met a bunch of people that I care about and love today, and I had gone through that year, and it had been the toughest year of my life. Oh yeah, not to mention, I forgot mentioning this, but when all this ironically happened was on Valentine's Day, the day of love, and that's when that all went down. So I forgot I mentioned that. But anyway, back to what Abby had convinced me to go to youth. So I went to youth, and I formed a relationship, and I went through my year, and I realized that, religion is really for me, because before I wasn't really a religious person. I was a Christian, I'd say, I go to church maybe once every 5 years. Not really anything normal. I don't pray, none of that, really. And so, thanks to Abby, I'm here standing in front of you, and that year came around, and we went to OSYC, Ohio State Youth Convention, and I really felt a connection there, and I really felt a connection to God there. And soon after that, I got saved here at youth. Jesus Christ is my Savior. And then I got baptized, and the ball just kept on rolling for me. Like, I felt like I was on fire. But in the back of my head, I'd pushed it so far back that I didn't really think about losing my mom and all that. But I'd soon come to realize that maybe there's something special about me. Maybe I'm the special person that needs to share this story. Because the reason I never shared my story before was because I didn't want anyone to feel bad for me. Like, I want to be on the same playing field as everyone else out there. Like, if I would have told you my story, would you have felt bad? Oh, maybe we should treat Kade nicer because he lost his mom. I don't want that. I don't want to lead that life, and I want people to treat me that way. So that's why I chose. I chose to keep it in, and that's really hurt me because I put these walls around my heart that it's hard for me to really, really love someone because of that, because I pushed that down so far. So I went through that year, and come springtime, I was a Division I baseball player at Lake, and come springtime, I don't even know what Division Tulsa is. What, like Division 7 or something like that? They're not very good.
Keep going low.
They're not very good. Let's just say that. And I knew that if I were to play baseball, I'd be a big help because I was a really, really good baseball player. And I came to find out that two of my best friends, Dustin Hoyles and Jacob Hensel, they played baseball. I was like, great, we'll be the Three Stooges out on the baseball field together. And come spring, I had to play baseball in about a year, and went to pick up a baseball bat and just dropped it. Just straight up dropped the baseball bat. I couldn't physically, I literally couldn't physically play baseball anymore. I couldn't physically, mentally play baseball anymore because growing up, I had always been surrounded by, my mom. My mom was there, I'm hitting a baseball, and my mom's like, go Kade, but I had come to realize, what had just really happened. I was like, I lost my mom. She's not going to be there rooting for me anymore, so I can't play this sport I love. So I was like, why me? Like this is what I want. This is what I want to do when I was growing up. Like I was that good. Like I felt like I could actually play baseball in like the major leagues. Like that might sound crazy to you, but I felt like I could really do it. So that's where my story leads into me realizing that my life isn't about myself as much as it is the people around me, and I realized that I want to make a difference in everyone else's life. I want to inspire other people with my story. I don't want it just to be kept inside of me. I want people to realize that something bad doesn't have to happen for you to turn to God, because that could have happened to me. I could have turned to drugs, alcohol, sex, all that crazy stuff. I could have easily turned to that, but I chose not to. I just went down a regular path, and it led me to God, and that's what I really pride myself in. So that's what I guess I'm trying to say here is you don't have to have something catastrophically bad happen to you for you to turn to God. You can do it on your own. I mean, I learned the hard way, but you can do that on your own, and whether it's coming with your best friend Kade, or your friend Kade, or your teammate Kade, or whoever you want to go with, to whatever youth group you want to go to, or even praying, or whatever you want to do to relate to God. I mean, by all means do it, because it's a very powerful thing. Now, that's basically where my story leads up to now, and I've come to the realization that I want to spread my word, and so I got a couple Bible verses right here. The first one is Proverbs 3:5-6, which thanks to Brandon for helping me pick these out, because I don't know what I'd do without him. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." Now I have a little quote here that relates to this. It says, "What happens when God says no? Do you have the ability to accept what you do not understand? Can you still see God's plan when it didn't go the way you thought it would go?" You walk up to a little 7-year-old Kate. Kate, what are you gonna do when you grow up? Oh, I want to play baseball. And then growing up thinking that, and God says no. Like, man, God, why are you saying no? That's what I want to do. Like, no, you're not playing baseball. You're gonna go. You're gonna make a difference in the world. You're gonna inspire people. You're gonna make people's lives different in any way that you possibly can. And that's what I really get from that one. The next one I have, which is like really close to me, I really like this one, is Matthew 5:15-16. Thanks, Brandon. "Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Now, the quote that I have attached to this is, "In life, some people don't need you to preach a sermon, they need you to live one." And ironically, I like to live by that, even though I am up here preaching a sermon. But I like to carry myself in a way that, I like to, walk down the hallways and, maybe, am I that kid that's going to, push down little Johnny, or am I being that kid that helps up little Johnny? You're like, oh man, Kate might be a nice guy, why is he like that? Maybe you question me, and maybe you're like, oh, maybe by some magical reason you might be like, maybe he's this faithful guy that, just wants to help other people. You might question yourself like that. But back to Matthew 5:15-16, I really like this. "Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl." So taking my light, taking my story that could inspire other people, I took it and I put it under a bowl, Like here's my phone, here's my light, I took it and I put it under a bowl. So I covered it up. I didn't let anyone touch it, I didn't let anyone see it. And I've come to realize that, I need to put that light out there. I need to put my light out there for every single person to see. And, I am putting myself in a very vulnerable situation. Maybe I'll show up to school around and be like, your mama jokes start popping up, but, and I think it's going to happen, no, but, am I putting myself in that vulnerable situation? Yes. But, it's not about that. It's about, helping others. Now, the last verse I have is 1 Timothy 4:12, and it's "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." And this is what I've been preaching this whole time. I have this quote: "Don't just aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference." I am young. I'm 17 years old. If I was a 40-year-old man sitting up here talking to you guys, giving you the same exact story, would it impact you the same way? Absolutely not, because I'm 17 years old and you see me every single day, whether it's at school, whether it's once a week at youth, whether it's on Sunday at church. So, you see me, you could say something about Cade. You'd be like, yeah, Cade's a nice guy. Cade's a jerk. I don't like Cade. You can say whatever you want about me, whatever you may believe about me. There is some connection that I have with each person in this room. So that's what sets me different than, 40-year-old Cade sitting up here, not knowing you, giving you this story. I'm 17-year-old Cade, going through the same high school days you guys are going through, giving you the story. So yes, I am young. Do I think I'm like a 30-year-old mind? Yes, I do. I'm very cocky like that. But I do set an example for believers in speech. I'm up here speaking to you guys right now. Do I conduct myself in the best way? Absolutely not. I sin all the time. Yes. Does everyone sin? Yeah. Of course I sin all the time. Do I do some things I probably regret doing, probably shouldn't do? Yes. Do I pray for forgiveness every night from those sins? Yeah. Do I make the same mistake the next day? No. So I conduct myself in a way that, I can go home and I can look at myself in the mirror and say, kid, I'm proud of you. I'm not disappointing you. I didn't cheat myself. I didn't cheat anyone else. I didn't cheat God. I lived the best life I could live that day. And love is the next one. Now, whether you believe it or not, I love every single person in this room, and any of you can come to me for anything, or any of these leaders out here, because they'd be more than happy to pray over you, or go whatever you're going through. You can go talk to anybody, because that's just the type of people. That's just the type of people that we are. We care about each other and each other's well-being. So I do love you. Am I in love with you? No. Do I love you and would do anything for you? Yes. Just gonna clarify that.
Wow, okay, that one's the big one.
Except for you, Sam. I love you. I'm in love with you. Next, in faith. Yes, I'm a very faithful person. I think so. I spent 3 hours. I was up till 1 a.m. this morning practicing and running through this because I wanted to make this the best I could. And I woke up at 5:30 to practice 2 hours before I went to school. And it doesn't matter how much I practice, because as long as I had faith that God would put words through me and get to someone out here today, then that's all that matters to me. So I had faith in God that He would allow me to give this and inspire every single one of you out there. Now, last one is in purity, and this is the one that hits me most because I go to high school, unfortunately, and I see the type of things that my friends do, and I know every single one of you that's in high school or has been in high school or will be in high school will see stuff that you're like, man, why are you doing that? Like why are you doing that to yourself? And people, I don't know what the big obsession with like vapes are, but like everyone seems to love to vape, and that just ticks me off so much, because it's like you're getting addicted to something, and I don't know. Personally, I can't stand it. I get it if you're getting off smoking. I'm going on a rant here. I shouldn't be going on, but but that's something that I consider like you gotta be pure. You can't be doing drugs. You can't be doing alcohol. Stuff I stated earlier. So I try to be the purest person I can be, and lead by example to my friends, my buddies that are here today, and the people that look up to me, and even if you don't look up to me, you're friends to me, and you're like, yeah, I know that Kate doesn't do any of that stuff, and he leads by example. So that goes back to when I go home at night, can I look at myself and be like, yeah, I'm happy with you, or did I just go smoke some weed earlier and go home and look at myself in the mirror and like, no, I can't be happy with you. That's what purity means to me. So at this stage in my life, about to be 2 years this Valentine's Day since that's happened with my mom, have I realized some harsh things in my life? Yeah. When I graduate next year as a senior, is my mom going to be there when I graduate? No, probably not. When I get married, is my mom going to be there when my wife's walking down the aisle? No, probably not. When I have my first kid, is my mom going to be there? You get it. You get the whole gist of, my mom's not going to be there. And that really does take a toll on someone. But the thing I think about every single day is my little brother, because when I left, he was 3 years old, and the last thing he said to me, like the last time I saw him, he's 5 years old now, so I don't know if he remembers me, but he looked up to me and he couldn't say Kade, so he called me Kuka. And he looked up to me and he's like Kuka. He's like, here, he was like this tall. He's like, you're my best friend. And I was like, oh, thanks, buddy. And that was, and then I left to go with my dad, and that was the last time I saw him. That's the last memory I have of him, and that sticks in my head every day. Is Kuka, you're my best friend, and I work every day to try to, I pray to God that He hasn't forgotten me, because I know that my mom's going to brainwash them, and I know the type of person my mom is, unfortunately. So I pray every day that they don't get brainwashed, and that they don't forget their older brother, and that they know I did the right thing for them. Now, I mean, that's about where it leads me up to today. It was quite hard. I mean, if you know my story, you are a very special person. Not saying that you're not special if you don't know it, but you're pretty close to me if you know my story. So I mean, I thank you guys for sitting here and having to listen to me. I hope I made an impact in your guys' life, and if you got one thing out of this, maybe maybe my story wasn't captivating to you, or maybe it was. But if you got one thing out of this, know that you don't have to have something catastrophic happen to you for you to seek God. And that's all I have to say. And I thank you guys all for coming out tonight. And I just want to say a quick prayer before we get ready to leave here. Dear God, I thank you for bringing every single person out here tonight. I'm very thankful that you've been able to speak through me. And even if I got to just one person in this room, it would be all the worth it to me. And I just pray that tonight as we leave, that everyone goes home safe and is safe tomorrow on their way to school or work or whatever they have to go to. And I pray that they really reflect upon what I've said tonight. And then, maybe if they don't ever go to church again, maybe they just think, maybe just maybe Kade made a difference in their lives, and see that God made a difference through my lives, and that's how I made a difference through their lives. So I pray that I'd love to see every single person that came out here come next week to youth group, but I know that may not happen. But I pray that you stay with everyone in this room throughout the week. In your name I pray, amen.